everybody. Welcome to the CanDo podcast. Very excited to have my man Daniel Berg online today. He's going to talk about everything foods. He is the CEO and founder of Future Forward Foods, dedicated to health and wellness. He's an entrepreneur, again, dedicated to healthful, clean foods, fun, interesting, and nourishing mind, body, and spirit. Innovative and always looking for new things. Daniel, thanks for coming on the podcast today. Really excited to have you and share your story.
Hey, Adam. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
You got it. Well, I got to get into it. You know, obviously, we've got our food brand here with CanDo, the maker of Keto Crisp. So as soon as your name popped up and I started reading about all the things that you're doing, I wanted to get into it. So where did your passion for food come from, Daniel?
Started in about fifth grade when I started going to the gym once a week with my father, and basically just became obsessed right away with health and wellness, fitness, and nutrition. I was always playing basketball since like 3 years old, so I was always into sports and athletics, but really got into the nutrition and fitness aspect in middle school. Kind of cleared the house out of a lot of the junks and sodas, and that's kind of when we started researching our own products, and my mother and I got very into creating our own products and just researching consumer products.
Now, what was the first product that you and your mom actually created / built and maybe even put in production?
That is the original Berg Bites, which we are still manufacturing ourselves today, all day today, right now in Washington, D.C. But we used to make them by hand at our house in New York City and serve them as a nutritious treat to all of our guests. And that was for many years, and I saw the positive response that we received with that product, and thought it would be a great first product to enter the market with, and definitely our top selling item to date. So
now, I'm in the West Coast here. Where would I get your products locally here in California?
So yeah, we focused heavily on the East Coast for the past 6 years, really building in DC, Maryland, Virginia, New York, New Jersey, Long Island areas. We're not too much on the West Coast, but we are shipping nationwide every day on e-commerce. So we definitely ship to direct homes all over the West Coast as well. And that's daily, more than ever as of late, of course, over the past couple of years. We all have seen the growth for e-commerce and food and beverage.
Well, congratulations. That's really incredible. So how many people are part of the company now, Daniel?
Full time, we have about 6 people producing every day in the kitchen. And that's just day and night. And then a lot of outsourced team members, designers and mentors, but full time, it's really mainly the kitchen staff and myself really grinding it out and building it, one brick at a time, taking it slowly over the past 6 years, been bootstrapping it and just building, one day at a time.
Talk about your experience at college and how that motivated you to get into fitness at such an early age and then make it your career. I think that is incredible and great because, you've set a blueprint for yourself and so many people.
Thank you. Yeah, in college, I was studying health and wellness. That was my minor. And I was studying how to be a personal trainer, and I became a personal trainer. And then when I started taking the bites from New York to college in DC and giving them out on campus and setting up tables and trying to really start something. And then I found a local commercial kitchen when I was a junior in college, and we're still producing and scaling up out of that same facility 6 years later. So never knew I was still going to be here in DC, but we're producing more than ever, and the team is growing, so we're all very excited.
Great. What has been the most exciting thing about your business journey?
That's a great question. I would say recently, just the growth that we've had as of late in hiring a bigger team and just producing more and seeing it go from making them by hand, which, of course, took many, many hours, to now having real scaled up machinery and still not being able to produce enough and having to get the next machinery. So just watching it really grow from nothing into something pretty legitimate is very exciting to watch and be a part of.
Isn't it great to see how I remember, with Keto Crisp, we literally would go door to door selling bars and telling the story. And now to have 12, 13 employees and just the incredible partnerships that we've been able to gain, it's extremely humbling. And I assume you feel the same. Can you talk about that and how important customers are in the relationship to you and how you continue to build that while manufacturing your own bars? I mean, that's not an easy feat at all.
Yeah, that's for sure. It is pretty crazy sometimes, spending a full day of just watching over the manufacturing and then basically going home at night and trying to work on sales opportunities. That's basically what it's been like, and that's why we got to continue to hire more people, because that's not sustainable for the long term. But I really love manufacturing our own product. It's, being on top of making sure the quality is there, and also being able to ship fresh product daily, I think is a unique asset to have in the food business. And we love making sure, people get really fresh bites. So that's one aspect that we really like about it, and just the sense of control and being able to develop new products on the fly. So maybe one day we'll have co-packers, but for now we're enjoying the way it is.
Well, I'm so glad that, and I admire your ability to run all of it and be able to produce the products, and all the things that you're doing. How you've been a fitness enthusiast your whole life, it sounds like. How has the relationship to food and working out, and how have you incorporated that into your bars and any other products that you make? Talk about the importance of exercise and eating right to overall health and wellness, if you could. I know it's kind of a big question, but it's so critical as you work out and you exercise. Food is the gas that makes our body go. And if you're not eating the right foods, then you're not going to be performing at an optimum level. Talk about
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that's really the reason I wanted to get into it in the first place, because when I started studying all these consumer packaged goods out there and just realizing how it's crazy these bigger companies are able to get away with not just basically sugar water, let's say, for a lot of sports drinks, and just so much sugar out there now. In this generation, people are way more aware and understanding of what they're putting in their body, and which is great to see. And I think that's going to continue growing. But I think it's crazy that for so many years, people weren't even thinking about what they're putting in their body the way they are now. And of course, it's nothing. What could be more important than taking care of your body and putting good things in there for good, clean energy? So me personally, I'm always trying every product on the market, and of course our own products as well, and using that to see how that makes me feel. How many of these can I really have before I don't feel well? And using it, let's say, before a workout, after a workout. So I'm always testing different products and ingredients and seeing how they affect performance and reading up on that. But the biggest challenge with that is there's so many different types of things that work for different people. So that's what's the most humbling thing about the food and beverage industry. Not only how competitive it is, so you always have to fight every day to compete, but also just you can't really tell anybody what does or doesn't work for them. So really, it's all about just listening to the customers. When you first create a product, you want to really just give it to people, tell you why they should have it. But over time, you really learn that just let people decide what works for them, and don't really need to push things on them too hard, or tell them, what it's going to do for them. Let them tell you what it does for them.
Exactly. I think listening to the customer is the most important thing you can do as an entrepreneur in any business, because at the end of the day, they're going to be your biggest advocates. They're going to be your biggest cheerleaders, and they're going to tell you if they like it or they don't, and why they don't. I'll give you a good example. Before COVID, I would spend every day at a different Whole Foods or a Sprouts store demoing. And they would say, Adam, I'd love to try your product. I love your story. It's great to see you out and about doing your thing, But we don't, I'm vegan. And I, went back to the team and said, guys, we got to create a vegan bar. There's a big clientele for that. And, so since we've come out with 2 vegan flavors, and just I'm really, 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 really super passionate about listening to the customer, being there for them because they have so many different food options to choose from. And I'm just so grateful that they took a chance on CanDo and Keto Crisp. Tell me, um, what is next for the future in food? Would you say, for example, the next 5 years? You kind of touched on it with, uh, low, low sugar and just being optimum, ingredients. What do you see? Where do you see the food industry going as it relates to bars and snacks in the next 5 years?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been all about bites since day one, so that's our thing. We started with the bites, and still today that's our best seller. So we always wanted to serve, mini bites opposed to bars, and thought that's more fun and unique. So we're hoping we can make the bites category something that's as big as the bar category. Although we do produce bars as well, but the bites are our hallmark item, and definitely the one that we see growing the most. So definitely hoping to make bites a legitimate category, but also understanding, although I love nutrition so much and love eating very clean, that there's tons of people out there, maybe probably more, unfortunately, that really love good taste. So, I realize it's not all about the nutrition. It's also about delivering great taste, because that makes people feel good and happy too. So finding that balance between great tasting and indulgent, but also nutritious and clean at the same time, I think is the real sweet spot. And I think that's where our bites fit into, because they taste really sweet and indulgent, but they're also very clean. So I think that's why they can really appeal to a wider market.
How do you, Daniel, decide where taste is more important versus the macros of what the bar delivers on a health standpoint versus taste? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so our original product that we used to make at our home, it has sugar in them. It's sweetened with agave. And I would always be thinking, how do we make sugar-free? And we do have sugar-free offerings now. But then my brother would always remind me and just tell me that sugar is the best. And because he really likes sugar, and he always says sugar products are always going to be more popular than non-sugar products. And you're never going to get everyone to want to go sugar-free. It's all about great taste, and nothing's going to taste as good as sugar ever. So he would always be the devil's advocate in that sense, and always remind me. And then that really did make me realize that there are so many people out there that just simply want, a great taste. So I do think the sweet spot of like a permissible indulgence is a really good place to be. But personally, of course, I want, all the sugar-free products, and I would, trying to get other people off of sugar and educate them that there could be great tasting products that have no sugar and all natural, of course, as well. One big thing I think there's still a lot of room for improvement is that there's a lot of sugar-free products coming to market, a lot of new ones, but they're still artificial and artificially sweetened and artificially colored. So I think there's a lot of room for all natural sugar-free products still to grow in the market and available for room for them.
Great. What advice would you give somebody that's trying to change their lifestyle in terms of, say, they're 20 pounds overweight and they really want to dedicate themselves to health and wellness? How do you get started? And what's your take on that, being a trainer, obviously a passionate foodie and in the food business, dedicated your life to training and creating great tasting foods that are healthy for folks? What advice do you give somebody, say, that's, like I said, 15, 20 pounds overweight and just coming to you, Daniel, for example, Daniel, I'm 15 pounds overweight. What do you recommend me do to get started? I want to succeed, and sometimes I feel overwhelmed by what I need to do, but what advice can you give to somebody out there looking to make a change?
Yeah, simply, I would start by walking, telling someone to just get out and walk, and maybe walk on incline on the treadmill. Walking is one of the best workouts, and it's pretty easy. You just go outside and walk for a little while, and that's a great way to burn calories and just be active. Or find a sport to play if you like sports, and you just play more sports. And then I'm a big advocate of intermittent fasting for weight loss, and I think it feels amazing. And I've been doing that for years now, and it helps. If I need to cut some weight, I do that, and it feels so good. So I really do believe in fasting and its powers. So I would say walking and potentially fasting, because it really does make you eat less, and eating less will definitely help you lose a little bit of weight. But nothing's more important than being active, whether it's having a job that has you walking around and lifting boxes, or just literally walking outside or walking on a treadmill. That can really go a long way. So I think those are the simplest places to start.
Well, thanks for that advice. I have a question for you on intermittent fasting. What is your time frame? When do you fast, and when do you eat?
My schedule, yeah, it's not that consistent because I'm all over the place, but usually I won't eat till the afternoon, like 2 or 3, and I'll probably stop eating at like 9 or 10. So it's like an 8-hour window usually. Sometimes could even wait until 3 or 4 o'clock. Yeah, I feel just sometimes it really gives me more energy and focus when I'm working, and just it feels great. But
Great.
just like anything, it's only really that effective in the beginning. After you do it for a while, you get used to it, so you don't feel the benefit. So I do like to change it up, and some days just not abide by it. So you could just change up the body. If you do the same things over and over, then your body gets used to it, and you don't see that much change anymore.
Right. Now, you know, I talk about all the time with our company, we're the CanDo company, where life is about what you can do, not what you can't. I think I know the answer. For me, my biggest can-do story in my life is obviously the weight loss and being able to be part of something so special here at Keto Crisp and being able to touch so many customers. Tell me about what is your biggest can-do moment, and when did you realize, Daniel, that you really had something special here?
Great question. I mean, I have that feeling all the time. There's always the next challenge of how are we gonna be able to accomplish this or do this, and I feel like that's always the attitude as well. It's just we have to do it, like, so whatever it takes. That's the mentality I guess I would use. But I would say lately it's actually just keeping up with production. It seems like we've actually been recently aired on QVC multiple times, and then we're getting a huge rush of orders, and we're figuring how are we gonna produce. And it's kind of been the same thing for years. Like, how are we gonna get to that next step of producing this much product? And it's just we hire more shifts, we work at night, and our team is amazing, and they love to work and work so hard. So we all just look at each other, and we're like, all right, we're somehow gonna get this done, and then we go do it. So it kind of feels like that every year, and to another level, basically.
Right. Well, that's a great story. So excited to hear about it. Never giving up, always doing whatever it takes to win and to provide that great product for the customers. Tell me, Daniel, for our audience that's not familiar with your bites, how do they get a hold of you? How do they buy your product? Again, I can't thank you enough for coming on today. Tell our listeners how they would find out about your product.
For sure. So our 2 hallmark brands, we are the Berg bites, which are the bites that we used to make at our home, and we sell them on our website. We have bites that come 5 bites on a tray. We have bars, and then we have Mighty Bites, which are protein cookies. All the products have plant-based protein, prebiotic fiber for gut health, coconut MCT oil for a little brain boost. So they make you feel nice and full and energetic. And of course, we think they taste really sweet and indulgent. They also have different chocolate, like white chocolate or dark chocolate, all dairy free. And then we have our drinks, DRNX, that's the brand name, and our trademark adaptogenic waters. And those are sugar-free, 5-calorie, all-natural sports drink. And we actually are just launching those today with our new bottles and some new flavors. So that's drinkdrnx.com, and then bergbites.com, BERGBITES.com. And then we think, you have your Mighty Bites, your sugar-free protein cookie with your sugar-free DRNX, and it's a nice pairing with a lot of great ingredients in there.
Well, Daniel, I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's been great to hear about your success and just your continued hustle to bring the customers the very best in food, and your passion for fitness and food rings very clear, and your commitment to the customer also is evident in everything you do, and taking care of your team. Sounds like you have a great thing going, and I couldn't be more excited for you and your team. Uh, Thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. Really enjoyed meeting you and wish you the best. Did you have any questions for me?
Any questions? I'm sure I do, but I guess I'll just say thank you very much. And hopefully we can talk again soon and maybe see each other at some event.
No problem. I'd love to see you in person again. Thanks again for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate the time, and have a wonderful weekend, my man. Thanks so much. Best of luck to you.
You too.
Yeah.
Same to you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.